Hi everybody, it's Sean from Sean Sports Cards, and I do love sports cards, but I'm not going to talk about sports cards this week. This week I'm going to talk about something near and dear to my heart. I've got my Star Wars Imperial Bad Guy hat on because I'm going to talk about one of my favorite sets of all time, the 1977 Topps Star Wars set. So the one that this relatively famous trading card comes from. I wish I could show you the whole thing. I've got my box here, my Mandalorian box, completely full of what is an ongoing project of mine. So these are my slabs of the 1977 set that I'm sort of pulling or have been pulling together for the last couple of years. I did a big submission a couple of years ago where I sent an entire set away to have graded, and a couple came back as not graded. I also recently sold one of my number one Luke Skywalkers. So it's a big passion of mine, and why I'm of that generation. I think I was talking on the last video that in the early 1980s, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all those kinds of things to keep us occupied. We just had, in Australia, the only thing we had to entertain us was skin cancer and sport. So Star Wars was a big thing for me. I got the VHSs when I was in my early teens and immediately got hooked. And sort of bought into to this cultural canon. And the 77 set is amazing for that. Just as like one of the things that appeals to me about it is just as a piece of history. The set was devised and printed, as I understand it, before the movie was released. So there's a lot of history, there's books and podcasts and all sorts of stuff that can talk about the history of Star Wars. One of the big things about it was that it was one of the first merchandise-led films in history, really, and set the standard, set the sort of the goal for modern filmmaking for decades to come in terms of how do you monetize a movie beyond simply being a great story. Sort of everything started with Spielberg and Jaws and things like that, but it really kicked off in 77 with Star Wars. So there was a lot of merchandise, and the big thing about Star Wars was the merchandise couldn't keep up with the demand. But the Star Wars card set, because trading cards were a thing in the 70s, was ready to go as soon as the movie came out, and off they went. And one of the things that struck me looking at, for example, the PSA Pop Report for the 1977 set is how remarkably for cards that are at the time of this recording nearly 50 years old, how remarkably well they stand up. And a lot of that is because the people who collected the cards in 1977 took really good care of them. They're not like, I was saying on the last episode, I had football cards and things like that. These were the kinds of things that you would get a clothes peg, put them in the back wheel of your BMX bike, and use it to make it sound like a Formula One car. That was not these. These are really well taken care of. So, I mean, to a certain degree, right? So, pop count is about 44,500 for the whole set by PSA. You're looking about a 2.5% PSA 10 rate, which is not unsurprising given sort of the lag between when the set came out and when PSA grading became a thing and a regular thing. This famous card here, the Luke Skywalker, the number one, they call it the rookie card. I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of referring to non-sports people as having a rookie card, but they call the Mark Hamill rookie card. Mine's obviously a little bit different because mine's signed. 9 PSA 10s of these in existence. It's incredibly expensive, incredibly rare, incredibly valuable. I will never own one. I'm happy to make that prediction at this point that my hobby journey will go in a lot of directions. It I could not justify to myself buying a PSA 10 Luke Skywalker, no matter what the cost. But the remarkable thing for me about that PSA Pop report is if you think about the quality of cards and think about how old these cards are, what do you think? Which PSA number do you think the majority of, well, not the majority, but which PSA number do you think most 1977 Star Wars cards come into? And now, if you had have asked me, I would have said somewhere between a five, maybe a six. Like six feels like a good grade for me for a 50-year-old plus trading card coming up on. And the answer is PSA 8. So 28.75% of this set is a PSA 8, which is to me is remarkable considering I've submitted ultra modern cards and they haven't got eights. So it's a phenomenally well kept set. It's a historically relevant set. The fear I have for collecting this particular set is that cultural relevance. So my Star Wars, everybody has their own Star Wars, those people who like Star Wars. My kids' Star Wars is the most recent trilogy with Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver and the J.J. Abrams trilogy, which I enjoy, but it's not my trilogy. My trilogy is not even and I do love it, the Ewan McGregor Phantom Menace 1999 trilogy. This is my trilogy. Han, Leia, and Luke and Chewie, they're mine, right? So that has that relevance for me, but that relevance will fade over time. I tried showing this film to my younger children. Both of my boys are under 10, and I tried showing that film to them a couple of times over the last couple of years, and it's incredibly slow. So my fear with a set like this is it doesn't have, it relies more on nostalgia than, say, a Babe Ruth or, the historical trading cards from sports where you can point to the impact of the athlete. These don't carry that unless you have that nostalgic draw to them. And that's the case to be made for maybe chasing things like Stranger Things cards and things like that. That will have that relevance 30 years from now if that's something that you're interested in. Um, but to me, it's a remarkable, they look like 1970s trading cards. They really do. Like it really, it's of the era. They are remarkably well kept and just a wonderful cultural artifact to have with the double up for me. Again, this is the perfect personification of my philosophical approach to the hobby, which is I'm building something that I think will be valuable in time that I could sell on and use the money to buy something that means more to me. I have, this is not my this is my PSA number one at the moment, but I've got two more versions of this card coming in that I will grade in subsequent months to replace in my set and one to probably sell. If all of these went to zero tomorrow, I would still love having them. I'd still love having authenticated versions of the original trading cards from before I was born, from my favorite movie of all time. And that's what it's all about, I think, is can you strike that balance between finding the ability to make profit where you want in order to get to where you want to go to, whilst balancing the risk of what if it all goes to pot tomorrow and they're all worth nothing. So one of my absolute favorite sets. You can still find loads of them kicking around. People, Facebook groups, eBay. You never know what quality you're going to get. Quite often they've been sitting in shoe boxes and things like that. I think I had a PSA 7 number one sell for a few £100 recently, which I'd been sitting on, which was a lovely card. Just an amazing set, and one most definitely that in time I'm hoping to delve into more and more detail on and understand more. So yeah, one of my absolute favorite sets of all time, the 1977 Top Star Wars set. And there's lots of varieties on them as well that are worth investigating, but an absolute belter of a set. Absolutely love it. And let me see, do you have any 1977 Star Wars, and are you willing to sell them to me? No. I'm more looking to fill that set and then probably move on to other stuff. But yeah, what does it mean to you? Do you agree? Do you think that in 15 years, 10 years, that these will be meaningful to anybody, or will they just be a relic of a bygone age? Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, share it on the socials, and hopefully I'll see you next week for some more sports cards hobby content from Sean.